Welcome, one and all. My name is Ryan Ziegler. I am one of the Senior Academic Advisors for the College of Fine Arts Advising Center. I also oversee first-year programming within the Advising Center, and today's presentation is going to go over some ways to get involved in your college, as well as to prepare you for spring registration. How well do you know the College of Fine Arts? Our college is composed of 6 different academic units, various community entities, and offers a variety of different degree programs. Our academic units are divided into departments and schools, and these academic units oversee the majority of majors and minors that we offer. Each academic unit does have a corresponding web page at unlv.edu. And if you haven't had a chance to check out your academic unit's webpage, I do highly encourage you to do so. You can find lots of useful information on these web pages, not only about the department or school and how to get in contact with them, like their phone number, email, as well as physical location on campus, but you can find additional information on events that are going on in your academic unit or the college at large. You can learn about specific student resources for your discipline and learn more about potential internships, department scholarships, and festivals or competitions that are being held. Our college is not just composed of academic units. We also have community entities that help further our mission of celebrating the fine arts. These include things like the Performing Arts Center, or PAC, the Nevada Conservatory Theater, or NCT, the Marjorie Barrick Museum of Art, and the Donna Beam Fine Art Gallery. The Performing Arts Center hosts productions throughout the year of local and visiting artists. The Nevada Conservatory Theater is both a professionally and student-run production organization. Each academic year, they put on about 6 theater productions. And to get involved in these, you do have to audition, but you do not have to be a theater major to audition for these productions. So anybody can audition. Auditions are held through the theater department, and do keep in mind that while a theater background is not required, having experience in theater, having the experience that comes with being a theater major can be beneficial, because you are going to be auditioning alongside other people of varying degrees of experience for roles in those productions. Both the PAC and NCT offers discounted or free tickets to students. So use your Rebel card and get yourself some free tickets and check out some performances this fall or possibly next spring. For the visual arts, we do have several galleries and museums around campus. The Barrick Museum of Art is centrally located here on campus. If you walk across from the Lead Library or the Hospitality Hall, that is the Barrick Museum of Art. They do rotate their collection, so they have different exhibits throughout the year with different themes or subject matter that usually has some sort of connection or tie-in to what's going on in our community. So that is free and open to the public. So definitely, if you're on campus, that is worth checking out. And For my majors who are specifically interested in having their art displayed, there are galleries on campus. The Donna Beam Fine Art Gallery is one of several, and quite often you will find not only visiting faculty or current faculty exhibits there, but also upperclassmen can have their art displayed. Our college also has several degree programs that don't belong to a particular academic unit. Case in point, effective this fall, we have a new degree program, the BA in Creative Practice. The BA in Creative Practice is directed by Stacy Chapin. Stacy Chapin is also the director of our Advising Center, and you can reach Stacy at stacy.chapin@unlv.edu or see her in person at our offices in the Central Desert Complex, building number 2, if you have any questions about the Creative Practice degree. In collaboration with the College of Engineering, we do offer entertainment engineering and design programs as well. You may have met some of those students who are in those degree programs as you take some of your introductory classes. The entertainment engineering and design programs are not advised directly by the College of Fine Arts. They are advised by the College of Engineering. Perhaps the easiest way to get involved on campus, other than building a relationship with your department or school, is to join a registered student organization or RSO. If you had a chance to be on campus earlier in this semester, you may have had a chance to attend the Involvement Fair. The Involvement Fair is usually held both fall and spring to help student organizations interface and interact with new students to get new membership. If you missed the Involvement Fair, don't worry. You can still find information on student organizations and how to become a member by using the Student Involvement Center. The Student Involvement Center is a database that you can access from your phone, tablet, or computer. You can type in keywords, or if you know a specific organization's name, you can pull it up in the Student Involvement Center and not only find information on the events that they're hosting, but how to join, how to contact the officers for the club. Usually you can find a brief description of the club's goals and mission, as well as establishing documents. All you need is to log in using your ACE ID. If there's not a student organization that aligns with your hobbies or academic interests, you can create one. If you scan the QR code down in the bottom right-hand corner, it will give you more information on how to establish and begin your own registered student organization. The university does have some minimum requirements that you will need to meet if you want to start your own organization, but that is an option for students if you have a need to have a community around an interest or hobby and that club doesn't already exist. You can take the initiative and get that started. Here on the slide are some examples of student organizations that have specific interests in areas that are related to the fine arts, but you don't have to join organizations that align with your academic discipline. You are welcome to join any student organization that strikes your fancy. Now, obviously, I didn't want to list all of the possible clubs here on the slide. That would take like 3 or 4 slides for me to do, but I do want to highlight a few things for some of our majors because these are directly related to your areas of study. So for my architecture majors, we do have professional chapters of national organizations that you can join. For example, For my architecture majors, there is the American Institute of Architecture students. For my landscape architecture students, there is the American Society of Landscape Architects, the UNLV student chapter, and for my interior architecture and design students, there is the American Society of Interior Designers UNLV student chapter. For my music students, there are many ways that you can get involved outside of your music classes. If you go to the School of Music's webpage at www.unlv.edu/music/student resources, you can find many useful resources for musicians, such as information on your functional piano requirement, audition requirements, a permission form for your music classes, and much more. If you're looking for an internship, the School of Music does have a Philharmonic internship where they coordinate and you work alongside staff in various areas, including K through 12 education, community outreach, public relations, marketing, fundraising, stage management, and more. Interns are paid a stipend for that. And for all students, music ensembles are open to non-majors, although most music ensembles do require previous experience and an audition to participate. The College of Fine Arts Consortium for Health and Injury Prevention, also known as CHIP, is an additional resource that is specific to our college, and their mission is to bring attention to health issues for performing artists, specifically musicians, dancers, and actors, those areas where you're using your physical body for your art. They aim to provide direct health services to help prevent as well as mitigate physical injuries. They are physically located in the Harmon Annex building in room 126. They do offer individual in-person appointments. Typically, these are on Wednesdays and Fridays. If you would like to learn more, such as how to get in contact or schedule an appointment with CHIP, you can scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner that will take you directly to their webpage, where you can get all the information you need to make an appointment. This is another resource that you can use in conjunction with the Student Wellness and Recreation Center to make sure that your physical and psychological health needs are met. I wanted to highlight a few things for the film department. So every year the film department does have various festivals and awards that they give out. So, for example, this fall, the film department will be hosting the 48 Hours Film Festival. Finished films are screened in front of an audience and panel of judges, and winners receive prizes and boasting rights. The great thing about these film festivals, at least with the 48 Hours Film Festival and Spring Flicks, these are open to the public. So you can invite your friends, you can invite family to these viewings. The film department does have a film festival offering in the spring as well. This is Spring Flicks. So each spring, teams do submit applications. Teams must be led by UNLV student or alumni, although you may collab with people outside the university if they are 18 or older. Screenings for Spring Flicks are free and open to the public as well. And I do have to make a disclaimer here. So, while those two festivals are free, the Sundance Film Festival obviously is not free or open to the public. So the film department does select a limited number of film students to take there each year. Some cool awards that are available through the film department are things like the Coca-Cola Refreshing Filmmaker Award, This year, 4 finalists will have a budget of $20,000 to complete a 20-second short film. Winning films will screen in all Coca-Cola pouring AMC/Cinemark theaters in the United States. The Johnny Brendan Filmmakers Award is an award that helps encourage undergraduates to develop advanced film projects. This grant is given every 2 years, so that means the application cycle follows that every 2-year period. That does mean that they are looking to accept applications this year, 2024, and the next cycle for this grant will not take place until 2026. We're going to switch gears now, and we are going to start talking about how to prepare for spring 2025 registration. Before we dive into that, a few disclaimers here. This presentation is designed to present information to first-year students who have never attended a college or university before. The information provided is general in nature and is not designed to address specific academic circumstances for individual students. There will be a slide to give you more information on how to connect with your advisor if you have questions related to your individual circumstances. If you are viewing this and you are a non-fine arts major, so perhaps you have a fine arts minor, or perhaps you have another major right now but are thinking of switching over to fine arts, please make sure that you are consulting with your current advisor and advising centers. If you are not a new first-year student, if you have transferred in from another 2-year or 4-year institution or are a continuing fine art major, please work with your major advisor to do your planning for spring registration. The first step to preparing for registration is to know who to talk to. So every major in our college has an assigned academic advisor. For my art, which does include photography, painting, drawing, and printmaking and sculpture concentrations, art history and graphic design majors, you can come see myself or you can see Jack Kelly. My architecture and creative practice majors, you'll be working with Leanne Carr. Music and dance majors, you will be working with Christy Creekmore. And film and theater students, you will be working with Rochelle Walker. Getting students prepared for registration every semester is a full operation that all of the advising staff participates in. So remember that we also have Jonathan, who is our administrative assistant. If you're contacting our front office or emailing CFA Advising at unlv.edu, most likely you are interacting with Jonathan to help get your appointment scheduled. And Kimberly Miller as our retention progress and coordination completion coordinator. Kimberly will be sending out reminders about when registration opens. There will be some other opportunities to get registration questions answered throughout the fall. So while Jonathan and Kimberly may not directly advise students, you'll be receiving or maybe interacting with them to get prepared for your registration as well. So, when are you ready to enroll for spring classes? Well, right now, because I'm recording this at the end of September, things are still a little bit out. So on October 25th, you will be able to go into My UNLV and view the spring schedule. So that is when the spring schedule goes live for students. So from October 25th and onwards, you'll be able to go in. If you know what kind of classes you're looking at, you can search for those. You can view based on your requirements if you want. And probably the most important thing for many of my first-time students, is that while you cannot register that early, there is a shopping cart function in my UNLV where you can put the potential classes you would like to register for in that shopping cart in advance of your registration. And while the shopping cart does not save you a seat, nor will it register you for that class, it does help you kind of organize and get a more concrete feeling of what your potential schedule may look like when you actually get ready to register. As we get closer to registration, every student will receive an enrollment date, and this is very important. Spring registration will open November 4th. Generally speaking, about 2 weeks before registration opens, you should be able to see your enrollment date in my UNLV. And your enrollment date is your indication of what time and what day you may begin registering for spring classes during the registration period, because your enrollment date is going to be assigned to you based upon your class standing. So seniors will get the earliest enrollment dates, then juniors, then sophomores, then freshmen, which means that even though registration opens on November 4th, most likely your enrollment date will not be for several days later. Sometimes it can be all the way out to a week, but you want to make sure that you take note of that enrollment date, because that would be the soonest that you could actually go into the system and register for spring classes. And at any point after your enrollment date has arrived, you can still register. So, for example, let's say that your enrollment date says you're good to go on November 11th at 8:30 a.m. and you don't go in the register until November 15th. You can still do that as long as you don't have any holds that prevent registration on your account. Cannot encourage this enough. Do not wait to register. If you want to give yourself the best chance of getting into the classes you want for spring, you should stay as close to that enrollment date as possible. Do not wait until financial aid is dispersed or you can pay for your classes before you enroll. This is because if you wait, there is the possibility that important classes that you may need for your major will become full. And keep in mind that if you're waiting on financial aid to disperse, that's not going to happen until January, most likely. And if you wait until the end of the semester to figure out if you can pay for the classes or not, that could even be too late. So, register when your enrollment date arrives, or as close to as you can. Then you have time to figure out how you're going to pay for your spring classes, because the deadline to pay online, pay in person, or set up a payment plan to make sure that you can pay in installments is not until February 3rd, 2025. So you have time for that aid to come in, you have time to set up a payment plan, and in the worst case scenario, if you will not be able to pay for your full course load or pay for classes this spring, you still have time to withdraw and not owe money before that payment deadline. Before you register on your enrollment date, please make sure that you are checking My UNLV for any potential holds. From your homepage, there is a hold tile that you can view. This is where you can find your various holds. Not all holds will prevent registration, but there are a couple that will, and if you have a hold that prevents registration, this will prevent you from being able to enroll in spring classes even once your enrollment date arrives. So, for example, let's say that you have that November 11th, 8:30 a.m. enrollment date, but let's say that you have an account past due hold. An account past due hold will prevent registration until your past balance is paid and that hold is lifted. So if you try to go in during your enrollment date and you have that hold, you won't be able to register. You'll get an error message. And until that hold is lifted, you won't be able to. Another hold to watch out for is immunizations. If you are missing immunizations or have not submitted an exception for that requirement, there is the potential that you would have an immunization hold on your account. And while that won't bar you completely from registering for classes, it will limit the type of class you can register for. So if you have an immunization hold, you'll only be able to enroll in online classes. And for some of my majors, that won't be a particular problem for your spring semester. But for many of my performance-based majors, music, dance, theater, your classes are going to be primarily in person. So if you're not able to take in-person classes, this can delay your degree progression. In order to graduate, every student will need to complete their English composition requirements. The English composition requirement is composed of English 101, English 102, or equivalent credit. Most of you should be enrolled in English 101 Composition 1 or the co-requisite version, which is English 101 with the 100L and 105 support labs. If you are currently enrolled in either one of those courses, you have your English 101 requirement in progress, and as long as you pass that this fall, you should plan to enroll in English 102 for spring 2025. If you do not pass your English 101 class this fall, you will not have the prerequisites necessary to take English 102 in the spring. Once you have earned credit for English 102 or an equivalent course, you have finished your English composition requirements for graduation. There may be some of you who are not currently in an English 101 class this fall. You probably fall into one of two categories. The first category being that your placement into an English 101 class this fall required that you take the English support labs, and those classes were full. If you need to place into English for spring of 2025 because you do not have an English class this fall, please consider doing English placement before you register. English placement is decided two ways. It can be decided by your standardized test scores or your English placement assessment score. If you took the ACT or SAT in high school, we can use those scores if they are high enough to place you into English 101. You would need an ACT English score of 18 or better, or an SAT English score of 480 or better to place into English 101. If you do not have these scores, or you did not take the ACT or SAT while you were in high school, you may opt to take the free English placement assessment through the UNLV English Composition Department. The English placement assessment is free and available online. Generally, it takes students a couple of days to complete that, and if you score a 9 or higher, it is scored from 0 to 12. That will also allow you to place in the English 101 for the spring. The second scenario is you may already have your English composition requirement completed if you do not have an English class this fall. If you've done dual enrollment and taken English 101 and 102 at another institution such as Nevada State University or CSN and have transferred those credits over, you do not need to worry about taking an English composition class. Every student will be required to complete a math requirement to graduate. Depending on your major, the exact level of math that you will need to take will vary. The majority of our majors will need to take Math 120, which is the fundamentals of college math, the lowest level of math offered at UNLV, or you can take, if you place, a higher level of math, if you want to, for their math requirement. The exception is architecture. Architecture does have a higher minimum level of math required. If you are an architecture or interior architecture and design major, you will need to complete up to Math 127 Pre-Calculus 2 or a higher level math. If you are a landscape architecture major, you will need to complete Math 126 Pre-Calculus 1 or a higher level math. What this means is, with the exception of architecture and interior architecture and design, most majors will be taking only a single semester of math for their degree. Architecture students, your math requirement was prioritized this fall, meaning that if we had available math classes, we attempted to block enroll you into the appropriate level of math for your architecture major. For my non-architecture majors, your priority this fall was to complete your English or start on your English requirement, which means that the vast majority of my non-architecture majors will not be looking to start or complete their math requirement until spring of 2025. Similar to English, there are normal and co-requisite versions of each math class. So, again, we will take a look at your ACT or SAT scores to determine placement into a math course for the spring. You can view all of the placement scores for the different types of math classes on the UNLV Math Placement webpage. I'm not going to go over each one because depending on if you need Math 120, 126, 127, or if you want to take a different type of math like 124, the ACT and SAT minimum scores vary for each math class. However, you have time before registration opens that if you need to improve your math placement because you do not have the minimum ACT or SAT score needed to take you out of the co-requisite version, or if you do not have standardized test scores to use for placement, you may pursue ALEKS placement instead. ALEKS placement is a learning program that is free and available to you both online, but also with in-person testing dates if you prefer in-person testing. You can learn more about ALEKS either through your resources tile in My UNLV or on the UNLV Math Placement page. Once you have an official ALEKS score, please consult with your advisor to make sure that it will qualify you for the math that you need for your major. Jumped ahead of myself a little bit. So you can take the ALEKS Math Placement Assessment virtually. You can do this through My UNLV under the Resources tile. Before you go to the ALEKS link, make sure that you download the ALEKS information document. This document contains instructions for how to get your access code, your login password, and how to download the proctoring software so that you can actually complete a proctored online placement test. You can scan the QR code in the lower right hand for more information. From here on out, we're going to be talking about other types of general education requirements. The goal here is to have your general education requirements finished before you graduate. And for most students, that means completing them usually within the first 2 to 3 years of your program. Unlike the English and math, though, we're going to be a little bit more flexible in terms of choosing what kind of gen eds you may want to take in when you take them. So you can keep this in mind when you have a discussion with your advisor, is that with your other general education requirements outside of math and English, you have flexibility to kind of take them during whatever time is most convenient for you. Every student will need 9 credits or 3 different social science classes. There's a lot of variety with the different types of classes you can take for a social science. Here are some common examples of various classes that you can take. And among the social sciences, not only do you have a large variety in the subject matter, but generally you also have a lot of variety if you're looking specifically to take classes in person or if you are looking for online options. Now, this does look like a lot of alphabet soup, but as you progress and get more familiar with the different subject codes, you'll start to be able to recognize which codes stand for different subjects. And if you absolutely have no idea, you can always look up the subject codes in the course catalog. So for example, if you're not sure what CRJ stands for, you can type in CRJ 104 in the course catalog. Make sure you are in the 24-25 academic catalog. Or you can go in once the schedule is live, type that into your search bar for enrollment, and it will pull up a criminal justice course. And you'll know that it's a criminal justice course. Some other subject matters that are listed here are anthropology, communication, economics, Latin American studies, psychology, sociology, public health, political science, social work, and women's studies. The classes listed here on the slide are not an exhaustive list of all the different social sciences you can take. There are more than these. When you are choosing a social science, just keep in mind that generally you do want to keep this to the 100 or 200 level because these are introductory level courses. So the subject matter does not presume that you have advanced knowledge in these areas, and as a result, many of the introductory level classes do not have prerequisites, or if they do, they are very common prerequisites like English 102. Everybody will need to take 7 credits of a life and physical science. This is further broken down into 2 distinct science types. A science with a lab, which would be 4 credits total, because you take a 3-credit lecture course along with a 1-credit lab. And then the 3-credit science without a lab. So the science without a lab, you only take a 3-credit lecture course. When you have taken both the science with a lab and the science without a lab, you will have a total of 7 credits, and you will meet the 7 credits needed for your life and physical science requirements. Now, some good news here is that you do have quite a variety of different life and physical science classes that you can take. So you are not restricted to simply taking things like chemistry, biology, or physics if you don't want to. And in fact, for the majority of fine art majors, you probably will want to not take those types of classes because they generally require a higher level of math than the Math 120 the majority of you will take for your math requirement. With the Science with a Lab, just keep in mind that sometimes the lab does come as a separate class. So for example, Anthropology 102 is biological anthropology, and that is the lecture class. But in order for you to take it as a lab science, you also need to enroll in Anthropology 110L, which is the corresponding lab class for biological anthropology. So sometimes you do have to register for the lecture and lab separately. This is also the case for classes like astronomy, geography, and chemistry and physics. However, some will come with the lab automatically attached as a requirement. So you only look up and register for one class, but you get both the lecture and lab when you register for it. And these would be classes like Biology 100, which is biology for non-majors, or Geology 101, which is exploring planet Earth. When you're choosing a science without a lab, you don't have to worry about that because all you need is to take the lecture component. So this does mean that for those sciences that come with a lab component separately, you can choose to take it for either your science with a lab if you choose to take the lab component, or you can choose to take it simply as a science without a lab if you just take the lecture component and not the lab. However, there are some science courses that do not have a lab offered whatsoever, so you cannot take them as lab sciences. They will only be good for your science without a lab requirement, and these are classes like ENV 101, Introduction to Environmental Science, Geology 100, which is Natural Disasters, and Nutrition 121, which is Human Nutrition. Architecture, your requirements are different. So unlike the other fine art majors, architecture does have specific requirements as to what you will need to take for your life and physical sciences. Architecture and interior architecture, you will be required to take Physics 151A and 151L. That will be your science with a lab, no ifs, ands, or buts. And the reason for that is because you will need to complete Pre-Calculus 2, Math 127, which is the prerequisite for physics. However, you will have flexibility in choosing what you take as your non-lab science. So just like any other fine arts major, you'll be able to take any of the non-science classes as a potential option for that requirement. If you are a landscape architecture major, you do not get a choice for either physical or life science. Your lab science, you have a choice of either taking Geology 101 or you can take Geography 103 and 104. Geology 101 is exploring planet Earth. Geography 103 and 104 is the physical geography of the Earth's environment. So you have to choose one or the other for your lab science. You do not get a choice when it comes to your non-lab science. Landscape majors will need to take Introduction to Environmental Science, ENV 101. Everybody will at some point need to complete their U.S. and Nevada Constitution requirement. If you need to complete both requirements, the most effective way to do that in terms of both time and money is to take a combined U.S. and Nevada Constitution course. There are 3 of these. You can do PSC 101, which is Introduction to American Politics. You can do History 100, which is a topic-led class on various issues in history. Or you can take Econ 200, which is Capitalism and Constitutions. If you choose to take any one of these 3 classes, it will satisfy both requirements. PSC 101 and History 100 are 4-credit classes. Econ 200 is a 3-credit class. Now, for various reasons, perhaps you don't want to take a combined U.S. and Nevada Constitution class. Perhaps you're bringing in AP, dual enrollment, or transfer credit that completes either the U.S. Constitution side or the Nevada Constitution side. So maybe you just need one of these requirements instead. If that's the case, it may be more effective for you to simply take a single class that fulfills a single requirement. For example, let's say you needed just U.S. Constitution. In that case, it may be more beneficial for you to simply take History 101, which is going to be history from the Revolutionary period up until the Civil War period, and it's going to be focused on American history. Or perhaps you just need the Nevada Constitution side. And here you have various options as well. You could opt to take History 102, which will take you through the post-Reconstruction era after the Civil War in American history. You could do History 217, which is Nevada history. Or you could do PSC 100, which is specifically just a class on the Nevada Constitution. All of these classes, History 101, History 102, History 217, are going to be 3-credit classes. PSC 100 is a 1-credit class. Now, it is possible if you aren't interested in taking a combined U.S. Constitution and Nevada Constitution course, you can fulfill both requirements by taking separate classes. So, for example, you could take History 101 for U.S. Constitution and then take any of the 3 options for Nevada Constitution instead. But usually this is a less efficient path because you're taking more credits and taking more time to complete that requirement than taking a combined U.S. and Nevada Constitution course. There are additional Gen Ed requirements beyond those. For most students, though, these are probably going to bleed into your second year, so these aren't necessarily classes that you're going to take during your first year, but don't worry about that too much. Again, as long as you have your Gen Eds completed by the time you graduate, and typically, on average, most students have that done before the end of their third year, possibly end of their second year, you're going to be right on track. You do have an analytical thinking and reasoning general education requirement. You can take any of these 4 classes to satisfy it. Philosophy 102 is critical thinking and reasoning. Com 104 and Com 217 are communication classes that focus on different aspects of argumentation and debate. And FIN 111 is a personal financial literacy class, so talking about budgeting, credit cards, interest rates, that type of thing. All students will need a multicultural course, or most students will, I should say. Do consult with your advisor. There are some majors that, as a result of the classes that you need to take for your major, will take a class that double dips for their multicultural, but most of you will need a multicultural course. There's an opportunity with the multicultural courses to pick a double dipper so that you can actually get 2 requirements done with a single class. The multicultural courses double dip with one of your social sciences, so that would also help you take out one of the 3 social sciences that you need. And the double dipper options are Women's Studies 101, Introduction to Women's Studies, Women's Studies 113, Gender, Race, and Class, Econ 180, The Economics of Discrimination, and AAS 101, African American Survey. Most of you will also need an international course. Any foreign language course will count for this requirement. So this could be French, Italian, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, any foreign language that we offer here at UNLV. American Sign Language is not a foreign language, that is still English. If you have questions about your international requirement, please consult with your advisor. There are majors that will have this requirement satisfied as part of their major coursework. Most notably, this is going to be music, art, and graphic design. So if you're unsure if you need an international course, please reach out to your academic advisor. If you have further questions or concerns that you would like to discuss with an academic advisor, this is how you can connect. This presentation was only to serve as a general introduction to how registration works. Once you have an idea about what kind of classes you want to take, which could be after you also have had a discussion with your academic advisor, take action for your enrollment as soon as you can. So when that enrollment date once again arrives, register sooner rather than later. Don't wait. Classes will fill up, and as I mentioned earlier, you have plenty of time between this November and when the spring semester starts in January that if you need to make adjustments to your schedule, meaning you need to swap classes, drop classes, you have time to talk to your advisor and make those changes. As long as you do this before waiting to the last minute, making those changes should not be too difficult. All academic advisors do have availability to meet individually with students. You have the ability to schedule one-on-one advising appointments by either calling our front desk at 702-895-5390, or you do have the ability to schedule appointments through Rebel Success Hub if you prefer that method. I will warn you that Rebel Success Hub does still have some bugs in it, so it does not work perfectly all the time. So if you are attempting to schedule an appointment through Rebel Success Hub and it is not working correctly, please contact our front desk for assistance. Individual appointment availability is limited, so we only have so many hours in a day that we can meet with students. So if you cannot get in to see an academic advisor before your enrollment date arrives, don't panic. Breathe. All academic advisors do offer drop-in hours if you have a quick question. So if you have a question about a specific course or requirement, drop-in hours would be perfect for that. You can find drop-in advising hours on our advising webpage for each major advisor. Most of them will have both in-person and online options available. Drop-in advising is first come, first serve, so if there are people in front of you, you will need to wait. Most of our academic advisors will also be hosting group advising sessions this fall. Group advising is basically advising in a group setting. So if you're not able to get an individual appointment or go to drop-in hours, if your major advisor is offering group advising this fall, you could go to one of their group advising sessions and get information for your registration that way. In the worst case scenario, if you're not able to attend a group advising session, use drop-in hours, or have an individual appointment with your advisor before your enrollment date, to the best of your ability, using the resources that you have, like this presentation, my UNLV, your degree sheet, the course catalog, enroll in what classes you think you need for the spring. And then you can always come back and later in the semester, November, December, meet with your academic advisor, and then we can talk you through if there are any adjustments or changes that should be made to make sure that you're staying on track for your graduation goal and graduation requirements. Thank you for watching. This concludes our student involvement and spring registration presentation.